Welcome to Crew Call, the Below the Line podcast by, for, and about the crew. Today's guest is an Assistant Production Coordinator, or APOC, Jasmine Barceló. Welcome to Crew Call. Alrighty, so how are you doing this evening?
I'm good. I'm actually still in the office right now.
Oh, wow. We caught you in the act.
Yeah, the long hours are starting now, so.
Oh, wow. What are you working on right now?
Right now, I'm on a show called The Brink. It's an HBO show, and it's with Tim Robbins and Jack Black.
Nice.
And it's about like the geopolitical crisis of the world, and but it's a dark comedy, so they do it in kind of like a funny, cheeky way. So.
Awesome. Well, let's get started so we can get you in and out, and you can get on home. So, first question: when did you get started in the business?
Well, I actually started off as a producer in advertising. But when I actually got into the business, I really wanted to get into TV and film. So I started from the bottom. I started as a PA.
Okay.
So in a sense, I kind of, started all over. And I actually started off as a PA in production because I knew that's what I wanted to get into. But with that being said, a lot of PAs do start off in different departments, mm-hmm. and it is possible to move to other departments. If you are production, a lot of times you can move into post and vice versa. It's mobile. But what happened with me was I happened to know the post supervisor on one of the shows, and she had recommended my name to the supervisor in production, and that's how I was able to get in. A lot of times it has to do with who you know, and it doesn't even matter what department they're in. It's more like if they work on the show, they can suggest somebody. And that's how I was able to get in. Nice.
Okay, so what was your first show or movie as an APOC?
It was a show now. It's wrapped now, but it's Dexter.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I had worked on that show. I actually have worked on that show for 3 years now.
Oh, wow.
But my first year, I started off as a PA. Mm-hmm. And, I really worked really hard. And I went above and beyond kind of what my position was as a PA. And that's why I was able to move up the next year. Also, a lot of this has to do with who you know and luck. Mm-hmm. And artwork. I had the opportunity because the APOC that they had when I was a PA wasn't coming back. And so I had the opportunity to move up in that sense. And they saw that I worked hard and that I really tried to go above and beyond.
So what is the job? What is your job as an APOC? Can you walk us through a typical day of what you do?
The most important thing that an APOC does, which stands for the Assistant Production Office Coordinator, is the script distribution and any schedules, any crew lists, any contact lists, call sheets. That's basically the most important job that an APOC does. An APOC has to make sure that all of those things are distributed to the actors and to the crew members, all departments. They basically rely on the production office, but the APOC to distribute all of those things. So you have to make sure that the actor gets the latest script, and there's always revisions, especially in TV. Mm-hmm. You're kind of a liaison between the actors. And a lot of times, you work as an office manager. You have to set up all the offices for each department. That includes furniture, phones. You work as an assistant sometimes to the production manager or to the producer. You basically have to assist the production coordinator in anything that they do. A lot of times, if they're too busy, they'll hand you what they normally do. the production coordinator and the APOC work very closely together, and you have to have a pretty good relationship because you work so closely and you work so many hours.
Now, what tasks belong to the coordinator and then to you? Because it seems like you're doing a lot. You're like in control of setting everything up. That's what it seems like. So what does the coordinator do?
The coordinator does a lot of that as well. That's why I said, the coordinator and the APOC work hand in hand because, a lot of times they're too busy dealing with vendors or, dealing with budgets, that they have to have you do that. And that's why you work closely with them, which is good because, if you want to move up as a production coordinator, then, you know exactly what you're doing.
Yeah, you're knowing how to do what they do, and therefore you have the training right there on the spot.
Exactly.
So how about the structure of your department? Is it just you and the coordinator, or is there more people in your department?
We're basically like middle management. So you have the line producer, and the line producer creates the production schedule, is the liaison to the executive producers and the network and the writers and directors. And they hire a lot of the department heads. And then you have the unit production manager. And that person's very important because they create the budget and the rates for the crew members and how many days each crew member is going to work and how long it's going to take and, camera packages and that sort of thing. And then you have the production supervisor or the production coordinator, and they're like an office manager. They deal with all the vendors, a lot of purchase orders. And then you have the APOC, and they deal with all the distribution and the scripts and help any of those three people, assist any of those three people, the line producer, the UPM, the production supervisor coordinator, in anything that they need. And then you have the production assistants, and they do all the labor.
Yeah. So it seems like your position is really huge as far as the things that you're responsible for, because you are helping so many other people. It is such a big department in the sense of all the things that you need to do, because it is setting up everything. It's kind of like admin. You said office managing, so that is a pretty big position.
Yeah, and if let's say someone's phone isn't working, a lot of times it can be overwhelming because you have so many things coming at you at once. You have the assistant director giving you the schedule, the one-liner, and that has to be distributed right away. But then you have a script change, and so you have to also do that. And then someone's calling because, or some crew members like, my phone doesn't work, and you have to take care of that. And then, there's so much and then, they call you from set saying there was an accident, and then you have to report that to the network. So a lot of times everything comes at you at once, and that's production is that way, where it'll come in waves of things, and you have to you can't feel overwhelmed even though you are.
Yeah.
And you have to you have to have a thick skin, and you have to be able to organize yourself and be able to do it, and with a good attitude.
Now, how about the tasks that are difficult to perform? Is there anything that's more difficult than the other? Are there any that are easier than the other? What would you say is the difficulty of the job?
I don't think it's the tasks, to be honest. They're not hard. It doesn't take a whole lot of intelligence. It's more about actually dealing with people, because you're dealing with a lot of different personalities. You're dealing with people that are, with egos sometimes. And you have to be really respectful, and you have to kind of be humble, and you just have to have a really good attitude. And basically the production office deals with every department and everybody on set. And so you're dealing with a lot of different personalities, and that's probably one of the harder things to do, is to deal with so many different personalities, and being able to kind of please everyone,
Mm-hmm.
that can be hard. And just the fact that you have so much to do and you have to kind of prioritize, that's probably one of the harder things to do. The tasks in general, they're not, I wouldn't say like, you need a PhD to do them or anything. It's just a matter of prioritizing. And then, like I said, dealing with so many different personalities and egos.
Yeah. I would assume because there's so much that you do have to do. So that's what I'm saying. It's kind of like a puzzle. You just have to know which ones to do first and how to arrange it.
And I would recommend, organization is a big key in, doing all of this. Because, if you're not organized, it's just going to be messy.
Yeah. So now how do you decide what is a priority? Does that depend on who's giving you the order? Or like the
Yes.
Okay. That's what I thought.
Yeah. If a line producer, yes. If a line producer is calling me and wants me to do something, that's probably going to be my first priority because they're the line producer and they're ultimately the boss. And then from there, it's a lot of times it's, when you have the deadline, that's a big thing. And yeah, and like I said, there might be somebody, an executive producer that goes above the line producer,
Okay.
The actors a lot of times are a priority before any of the crew members, department heads. It's really the hierarchy.
Okay.
Usually.
Are you involved in what goes on the set?
To a certain degree. I'm actually, the coordinator and myself were kind of the liaison. Anything that happens on set is brought back to our attention.
Okay.
Because then we deal with the line producer or the UPM or the network.
Okay.
A lot of times we're the ones that have to deal with the network. And for instance, if something happens on set, some sort of accident, then you're dealing with insurance. And yeah, so they would bring that back to us. And also I distribute the call sheet.
Okay.
Which is really important, because it lets everyone know what time they have to come in.
Yeah.
To shoot. And so, depending on what time we wrap, I have to actually let everybody know what time we wrap and then what time, we're starting the next day, depending on what time we wrap. And then that's when the production assistant comes in and, they distribute the call sheet in that regard.
So basically it's scheduling is part of your job as well as the administrative work, as the office management and all those other things.
Yeah. And the crew members on set, they'll call me if they need something, if they need, office supplies or they need something for the actors or, we're very closely tied with the assistant directors.
Do you have any influence on anything that goes on as far as like the show?
I wish I could say I did, but not really. I don't have any creative input. The most I've ever done was like, because I'm bilingual and I speak Spanish, I've maybe like translated some copy or they've asked me something cultural. But other than that, there isn't much.
You're more technical.
Creative,
yes, you're more technical than you are creative.
Yes.
In your job.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what sort of accidents or incidents have happened on the set that you've worked on or that you've had to deal with?
Where do I start? I don't know what type of, there's been a few, we've had assistant directors have heart attacks on set.
Ooh, that's a big one.
Yeah, that was pretty intense. Cause that's never happened before. And we've had accidents in terms of like slight injuries where someone,
wow,
cut themselves or something.
Yeah.
But, we actually had an assistant director have a heart attack and
yikes.
And that proved to be quite interesting. In terms of actors, The actors have always been, for the most part, really great to work with. They're easygoing for the most part, but you do have actors that, for lack of a better word, they're very much divas, and you just have to kind of deal with that. You can't just
right.
You have actors that are asking you to, get them, $10 smoothies 10 miles, 15 miles away. And they have specific diet restrictions and they only eat, iceberg lettuce and mustard. And it's interesting because you are, like I said, in this industry, you're dealing with a lot of different personalities and you have to kind of roll with it and just have a good attitude because that's what people remember.
Yeah.
You can always learn what to do.
Yeah.
The tasks are not hard.
Right.
It's your attitude that a lot of times makes you stand out. And if you have that good attitude, somebody will notice that and be like, that person would probably be great to work with.
Yeah. I think a lot of things come down to that, how you behave on set and how you can take things, in a professional manner. And like you said, with a good attitude. I think that is a big part with every job.
Yes, I agree. And being, working now for some time in this industry and hiring and working with different production assistants, and I've talked about this with my production coordinator. It's hard to find good production assistants because, to be quite frank, a lot of the PAs that I interview, there seems to be a sort of entitlement, and I feel like, I don't know, if it has to do with a certain generation or what have you, but a lot of people feel entitled and no one wants to work hard anymore. People just automatically assume that you can just move up right away. And it's not the case, unless you have lots of money or, somebody really high up.
Yeah.
That's not the case.
Yeah.
And so, you really have to come in with a humble, I can't stress that enough. You have to come in with a positive attitude and a willingness to work really hard, because if you don't know anybody and, you don't have the money, you're not rich, then that's basically the only way that you're going to be able to come up. That and a certain degree of luck.
Yes. Yes, luck plays a big part in it, because there are people that could work really hard but still not be able to move up because somebody that does know somebody can move up before them.
Yeah, sadly, that has happened, and we've had to hire people, for political reasons, because they're so-and-so's nephew or son or daughter, and unfortunately, that does happen. But I think if there's a will, there's a way, and like I said, if you work hard and you have a good attitude, I think you're able to make it.
So how has the industry changed since you started? Has it changed much, or is it pretty much the same since you've started? It's
been pretty much the same.
Yeah.
I'm not going to lie. Production assistants, the really good ones, end up moving up pretty quickly in a lot of ways. And so, you're left with a lot of, like I said, production assistants that feel entitled, or from what I've seen, there are a lot of production assistants that they want to move to other departments, like the writer's room and that sort of, and it does happen.
Yeah,
it does. But, you can't come in and interview for me and be like, oh, do the writers need help? Or, and that happens. And we're like, this is for production, just so you know, and you're going to be doing work in production, not for the writers, even though at some, you could relay that later on,
So has there been any technology that helps your position more nowadays? Anything that has changed in that way?
Well, now we have so much access, with Google. Google's really big.
Yeah.
And, you have programs like Synchronized and, back in the day, you'd have to always deliver a script
to
people
by hand.
And now you can just email it.
Which is so nice.
Yeah, now you can just
press a button.
It's so nice, but at the same time, the problem with that, so you have everything can be done in a quicker fashion. But the problem with that is that it's expected to be done yesterday.
Yeah.
It's expected to be done right away. And that's the problem with that, is that you can do so much more now with technology, with Google, with all these programs that, it's just an email away or a click away.
Yeah.
But the problem with that is, that it has to be done
immediately,
right away.
Right.
And you don't have the time. Exactly. You don't have the time to, you just don't have the time. And so time is money in this industry. So everything is expected to be done, especially in production, right away.
What is Synchronized? You mentioned that earlier.
It's a program that we use for scripts and for schedules. Basically, it has a system that has you input all the crew members.
Okay.
And anybody from the network like HBO or whatever, Showtime, and you're able to, in a very easy way, be able to distribute scripts and schedules via email.
Okay.
It's a great program, and a lot of networks use it. But like I said, the problem with that is that if you get something right away, then you're expected to send it out, within 5 minutes of when you get it. As opposed to back in the day where, it would take a whole day, maybe, to be able to do that. And now it's just, you're able to do it so quickly, but you have to be able to do it really quickly.
Of course, everybody is like, it's now. And since we do have the technology, they assume that they're going to get it with a snap of their fingers. Yep.
Yeah, exactly. It's like magic. And, you have, you're sending 5 million things probably at once, because they all come at once, of course. Well, and then you have crew members and people coming in like, where's the script? Where's the schedule? And you just have to kind of, be able to roll with it, because it gets that crazy in production.
Now, what is the best thing about your job? What is something that you really like about your job?
I think there's always an excitement to my work. Like I said, you have to be a little bit crazy to be in this industry, especially in production. I could be working any other job 9 to 5 and go home and that's it. But there's an excitement to what I do. It's never dull. And, you're dealing with, you feel like you're a part of something magical still. I still have that feeling that I'm still part of something bigger, something creative, even though, I don't have any creative input, but I feel like I'm still a part of that magic. And I still feel that. And so I think that's what makes it all worthwhile to me.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't say it's necessarily like one thing. I guess it's just the excitement of it, the idea that you're dealing with some pretty great people, some pretty great actors and some pretty great producers and writers.
So when you're working on these sets and everything, and you deal with every department, who do you feel like you get along with the best? Who do you enjoy interacting with the most?
It depends. You try to have the best relationships with people that are going to make your job a little bit easier. For instance, the assistant directors. They're kind of who you deal with on set for the most part. So you want to have good rapport with that person. You obviously want to have a good relationship with your superiors. You want to have a good relationship with the I'm not talking about kissing ass,
right?
But you want to have good relationship with the executives and the higher ups and the department heads, because those are the people you want to have notice you, to notice,
Does anyone treat you like, who would be the department or the people that are the most difficult to work with? Is there anyone that's difficult? I know that, with what you just said, you do want to get along with all of them, but is there like one department that stands out to you that would be the most difficult to work with?
It's not really one department. I think it's more of different people in different departments. Like I said, because you're dealing with different personalities, so you're dealing with different people in different departments depending on who works in that department.
Okay, so it's on an individual basis.
Correct. It's more of an individual basis, because usually you want to get along with everybody for the most part.
Okay. So for the people that are just starting out in the business, what would you suggest to them as far as, who they should know, what they should know, how they should start out, what they should do to try to even get on as a PA? What are your suggestions and input as far as getting started, period, for someone that doesn't know anything about getting on a set? They're new to it. They just know that they want to work on a set. What would they do?
Well, I would, like I said, a lot of times it's who you know, and to get your foot in the door, I'm not going to lie, it is difficult. I think for somebody that's just starting off, I would probably, resources like this, like, Anonymous, production assistant, those resources like that. I'm so glad we have those now, because we didn't have it when I first started.
Right.
So it's great that, they can go to resources like that. A lot of times it's contacting different offices.
Okay.
And, asking,
okay,
are you guys hiring? A lot of times they don't hire, but what they do is, can always just say, okay, well, can I just leave my information? Can I leave my resume? Can I just send my resume? I would have to say, just put your name out there. And if you are able to get into the door, you need to just have a good attitude and work really hard.
And lastly, our big question. If you were the queen of Hollywood and you could do anything differently, what would that be?
Well, there's a few things that I would do. One, I used to be a production assistant, and I know how low the pay was. And I would definitely give the PAs a union. I know people would be happy about that. The other thing is, I think, and I didn't really tap into this, but it's a white male dominated industry.
Okay.
So I think, for me, I think it would be great if we can get more perspective. And with that, I think you would need diversity to do that. And it would be great to see more diversity with the writers and in production and, department heads. That would be something that I would definitely try to work on. And PAs, to be honest.
Yeah, so maybe the people that say, hire this person because they're my nephew, they don't get to do that anymore. How about that?
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe we should take the person that sent in a resume and was professional about it and really, really, really wants the job.
Yeah, maybe cut back on the nepotism.
Yes.
That would be great.
Yes, I like that one. Well, Jasmine, thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate it. Thanks for answering all the questions.
I do want to leave with this one final thought.
Okay.
As corny as it sounds, if you have the will, desire, and dream, I think you can make it in the industry. And when I'm feeling down and overly stressed, and I start to doubt myself, I just go down to set, and somehow it makes me feel better. And there's still that magic of making movies or TV or creativity, and I think that's why I'm still in show business.
That's awesome. To be able to step aside and breathe and just focus in on why you wanted to do it in the first place and see the bigger picture that makes it all better.
Exactly. And I feel for my PAs too, because if you're a PA in production, you best believe you're going to be working your butt off. So,
well, thank you so much, Jasmine. You've been a great help to us, and we really appreciate you taking the time, especially because you're still at work.
Well, thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome. It was a pleasure.
It's great to be a part of this.
I'm glad that you were. Thank you. Have a good night.
Okay. Bye.
And that's it for Crew Call. If you'd like to support the podcast, remember to click the Amazon link on the Tapple website before you go shopping. It doesn't cost you anything, and Amazon gives us a little kickback. Everyone wins. And if you like what you've heard, please consider leaving us a review on iTunes. Good or bad, we really appreciate the feedback. And thanks again to Jasmine for telling us what it's like to be an assistant production coordinator. Tune in next week for post-production coordinator Zach Moss.